Hello, and this is my first look at the brand new BYD Dolphin Surf. Hello, welcome back to the interface. My name's Alex, and this is the BYD Dolphin Surf. Now this is BYD's smallest car that's on sale now in the UK. For the front design, it's definitely a bold looking car. This one's finished in lime green, which is a really striking looking colour. And there's lots of angular bits around the whole front end. We've got these really sort of triangular headlights here, the big BYD badge, and lots of black plastic down the bottom. And on the comfort trim, you get a 360-degree camera as standard. Prices in the UK start at £18,650 for the active trim, jumping up to £21,950 for the boost. And then at the top of the tree is the comfort, which I have in this video, and that would set you back £23,950. Now underneath the bonnet, BYD have actually done a pretty good job in keeping everything compact and small. We've got the front mounted electric motor there, and as you can see, there might have been some space for a frunk. It's a little bit unfortunate that BYD haven't done that, but that is understandable at this price point. Now the aftermarket market might have something for you. Around the side, the Dolphin Surf has some quite small proportions, with short overhangs and an interesting indentation in the side. On this trim, we also do get cameras in the door mirrors, as well as flush door handles. For colours, there are 4 to choose from, with lime green being the free option. Also, Appreciate White, Ice Blue and Polar Night Black all cost £650. For wheels, the Active gets 15 inches, and the Boost and Comfort get 16 inches instead. For charging, the smaller battery in the Active model is capable of 65 kilowatt DC, while the Boost and Comfort can handle 95 kilowatt. AC on all models is rated at 11 kilowatt. Much like the front, the rear design is just as funky. Lots of nice design elements going on around the whole car. Again, finished in lime green, a lot of black plastic down the bottom here, big BYD badge, Dolphin Surf, because that's what this car is called in the UK. Got a nice big rear spoiler as well, and a really heavily tinted rear window, and no rear wiper at all, which is a little bit unfortunate. Also, the rear lights here got this nice big light bar extending the whole width of the vehicle, looks quite nice as well. And because this one is the comfort trim, we do have a reversing camera as standard and a whole 360-degree camera system. Now to open the boot, just click this button here. Feels really solid, and we've actually got a really decent amount of space in here. I will put the exact literage on screen because this is the launch event. We haven't been given the specs just yet. And underneath here, we've got more space actually for all the cables and safety equipment, and I'd say that's pretty competitive in this market. And this is it with the seats down. It folds in a 50-50 split, but the car in China does have a full bench seat, much like the MG3. One thing I've noticed with the Dolphin Surf is that there isn't a parcel shelf or an interior boot light. However, there are a lot of tie-down points in the boot. There's 4 in total in this section here. Now the Dolphin Surf might be a relatively affordable car, but it seems BYD hasn't scrimped on build quality. One thing I've noticed is the thwump you get when you close the door. It doesn't seem cheap at all. For the rear seats, there isn't actually much going on here. The Dolphin Surf is a 4-seater, much like a Volkswagen Up, and surprisingly, I think I've got more space than a Volkswagen Up. I've got loads and loads of legroom here, I've actually got a decent amount of headroom, and that's about it really. There's no central armrest in the middle, there is ISOFIX connectors, which is quite good for families. There's no cup holders in the back at all, and there are no USB ports. However, I can see forward quite clearly. These seats are one complete unit like other BYD models, but I don't feel claustrophobic back here, and I have at least got electric windows. There's also a completely flat floor and really decent door bins as well. Before we go any further, I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe to the Interface Cars YouTube channel. There's lots of content coming on a regular basis, such as new car reviews, new car impressions like this one, EV charging guides, and lots more. Thank you. Right, the interior of the Dolphin Surf, and I'm going to compare this to the VW Up because that's what I daily drive, and really spacious. Feels really good and feels very similar to that vehicle. The build quality in here is also really decent. A lot of nice materials. So we've got some plastic on the dashboard here, which doesn't feel too bad at all. And much like BYD's other vehicles, they've gone for like a soft, sort of nice velvety material, and this feels like a bit of a wetsuit, which hence the Dolphin Surf name kind of makes sense. Got the typical BYD steering wheel, a little bit smaller than usual as well. Got a really decent sized, if not a little bit small, infotainment screen which does the usual rotating and all that sort of stuff that other BYD models do. So you can rotate that to portrait if you want to. We've also got a small digital driver's display with some dot matrix elements on there. It tells you the current range, the current battery level, the current power you're using, and the current speed. It's actually really decent. This center console is also fitted in that sort of wetsuit material, which looks quite nice. And there's no central storage underneath this armrest, but at least we do have an armrest. Two decent sized cup holders, which look like they might be fine, and a wireless phone charging pad as well. Other models might not have this. I will put some information on screen. Underneath this section, there's a really decent amount of space for your takeaway wrappers and stuff. Got a 12-volt socket down here, USB-C port, USB-A port, and also a BYD trademark thing they seem to put in their vehicles, a micro SD card slot. Now, a lot of stuff is on the touchscreen, but BYD have put some other physical controls in, much like the full-size Dolphin. Got a volume rocker here, which is really good to see, heated windscreen, air conditioning, all that sort of good stuff, and also the hazard switches and your gear selector. This screen, while it might be small, and it is on BYD's cheapest model, it isn't slow. Just look at this. It's so quick to respond and really, really good. I can see that being a really, really good addition. It's got all the usual support for Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, all the usual BYD apps and things. So they've got Spotify and the BYD Assistant. So I'm really impressed with that screen. Being the comfort model, this one comes with electronically adjustable seats, which is really, really good to see. And the BYD Dolphin Surf also has a adjustable steering wheel. Now, this isn't that interesting, but it does go up and down and in and out. So that's really good to see. These seats are also really quite comfortable and quite soft. Lots of nice material, and they are in a two-tone effect, which looks quite nice. They are, however, slightly narrow. It's fine for me, but some people might find these seats a little bit tight. Now, the first thing I've noticed about the Dolphin Surf is just how comfortable the ride is. I mean, city streets in London aren't the most forgiving sometimes, but the first few minutes of driving, this seems really good. Now, this comfort trim has a pretty decent 43.2 kilowatt hour battery pack, and that gives it a range of 193 miles WLTP. To give you some sort of information, my efficiency here is saying 4.6 miles per kilowatt hour. That's cumulative, I think, since the car was started. And I've got 85% battery currently and 163 miles of range. So that gives you some sort of idea of what the range is going to be like. I think for around town, that's pretty decent, really. And even not around town on the motorway, I think that's still pretty good. So just under 200 miles official range. And you might even get more than that, because this does seem like a efficient little car. I've also got 3 different driving modes, which is on a physical rocker down here. So I've got Eco, Normal and Sport, and currently I'm in Sport mode, so let's see how it accelerates. Yeah, accelerates pretty well. There is a decent amount of lift from the front end. So when you do accelerate, you do get a bit of sort of tilting on the whole vehicle to sort of lean back a little bit, which is quite fun. But yeah, it does seem pretty quick to accelerate. 0 to 60 is rated at just under 10 seconds, which is perfectly fine. The most important thing around town is 0 to 30, which I will put that on screen just now. While we're sat here in traffic, the visibility is actually really decent. The mirrors for a small little car are a really decent size, nice and large, and yeah, you can see a lot out of them. The rear view mirror here is a decent size. It is a little bit cheap feeling actually, but you can see a decent amount out the rear window. Because the Dolphin Surf doesn't have a middle seat, we haven't got a middle headrest, and we can actually see a really decent amount. And again, visibility is really good. Got these A-pillars here which aren't too big, and they give you a nice view out the cabin. Not a lot of stuff on the dashboard here, so it means you haven't got much reflection, and you can see, again, over the bonnet pretty easily. Now, one thing that BYD have added to this car is sort of driver monitoring systems. It seems a lot more intrusive than any of the systems I've used, even on the Aura Funky Cat. There's a little camera here which is watching my eyes, and even if I take my eyes off the road for a second to look in that mirror or look in this mirror, it seems to have a bit of an upset time. Just seems a little bit intrusive, so I'd recommend turning that off potentially. It just seems not quite calibrated properly yet. So yeah, so you can go into the system settings here and turn off the driver monitoring system, and that's now off, and that will come back on every time you start the vehicle. BYD don't seem to take regen that seriously sometimes, I've noticed. So we've got standard and high regen on this. No one pedal driving mode, which really in town is a necessity, especially in a city like this. You just stop, start, and not moving very far. And one pedal driving makes that experience a lot nicer. The brake pedal does seem to have a lot of the regen built into it, basically, but it would have been nice to see one pedal driving, again, especially on a city car. Now, road noise is actually really fine. I mentioned earlier it was quite quiet, but I was only going 20 mile an hour. So let's accelerate up to 50 now. Super quiet. Obviously, you've got no engine rattling away. Sound installation seems really decent, actually, even at 50 mile an hour. Tyres are quite small, only 16 inches, but they're not producing much tyre roar, which is pretty good. Yeah, quite comfortable, actually. Wouldn't mind doing a long journey in this. Now, I've got the steering in comfort mode currently, and just based on my first impressions, it seems really good. Seems fairly responsive, and when you're manoeuvring around town and doing quite tight corners, it's nice and light and quite responsive, so it's pretty good. So overall, what do I think of the brand new BYD Dolphin Surf? Well, I'm actually really impressed. I didn't really know what to expect when I got in the car this morning. Would the quality not be there? Would it not drive very well? But I'm happy to report it drives really well, really comfortable, relatively efficient as well, and it's got a decent amount of range. The build quality also is outstanding. I don't think there's a car that has this level of build quality at this kind of price, and it really does hammer home that BYD do know what they're doing. Just the door closing sounds really solid and really well made, and I think it's really quite impressive. I would like to spend a little bit longer with the vehicle to give my full sort of in-depth opinion on the vehicle, but based on the last few hours, I really am quite impressed.